Hey guys, Nishquick here, and today I am joined by Yggdrasil, and we're going to be talking Xenoblade, all things Xenoblade, the Xenoblade Chronicles series. So, Yggdrasil, you want to introduce yourself, give a little introduction about your channel, your content, and Xenoblade, and your, love and interest for the series.
For sure. Hey everyone, it's Yggdrasil, and I'd say welcome back to another video, but this isn't my video. This is Nishquick, who I'm joining today to have this discussion with. No, this is going to be very awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, Yggdrasil makes videos on the Xenoblade series, and you want to talk about your channel?
Yeah, I forgot about that already. Yeah. I'm just too excited. No, so my content's just generally up in the air with whatever I make. It's been the thing with that, but ever since Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was announced, Xenoblade Chronicles has been one of my favorite series ever since the games were brought to the West over a decade ago. I've loved them so much, but I've never had a chance to get into the scene of things because it was too late with the first game. I was in college for the second game's release, and the third time is I have a little bit of free time. Let's make some videos. Why not?
Third time's the charm, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember I found your channel shortly after the Xenoblade Direct in June. And I remember your videos are super extensive, and there were some things in your videos that even Luxon and other people didn't even think about, and I was like, wow. And then the theory crafting would go crazy in my mind, and this hype cycle was just amazing. I've never had a hype cycle that I've enjoyed so much for a game since Skyward Sword. Even Breath of the Wild was I was a little nervous, but Xenoblade 3 was just amazing. But yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that this was probably one of the best hype cycles I've seen for a game. If the format was any different, I don't think it would have been as nearly as well, because Monolith Soft, no spoilers from them, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Or at least it was late stuff, it's no one even thought about it or the context of it. But it was what, here's your crumb at midnight, America, have fun trying to divulge that.
Yeah.
So it was Luxon and other people, and this is what I did too, is we stay up till midnight, rack up a few discussion points, and then we would come out with the video. But yeah, it wasn't a direct in June, was it?
It was in June. Yeah, it was around the time the General Direct usually happens, but it was a Xenoblade Direct this time, and I was like, yes,
yeah.
Dedicated to Xenoblade.
My first things were largely unknown. Obviously, I'm starting out. I'm not using a larger YouTuber to platform or promote me, so it was difficult to start up. And it started with a couple views, and then a couple hundred views, and then the June the hype. Honestly, I can't get any views on my channel anymore. I swear, because it's just the hype phase was just so strong and surreal. That June Direct video that I did, I think it got over 4K views while it was still before the game was out.
Nice.
It was crazy.
Yeah, that was a fun time. That is a time I will never forget when it comes to video game hype cycles. So we have a lot of discussion topics to cover, so let's jump into it. So you kind of already got it, you talked about this a little bit, but I want to hear more of your story compared to my story, because my story is very different. So what got you into the Xenoblade Chronicles series?
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a question that I enjoy asking other people, especially on Twitter, when they're bored, hit me up, ask me a question. I'm oh, how did you find out this game? Or it's especially for the Xenoblade people, it's what got you into the series? So yeah, so my story is just a few weeks after the game came out in the West. I hadn't heard Xenoblade. I didn't know what it was. But I went to a friend's birthday party, and they had a projector in the garage hooked up. We were playing Smash Brothers, and at one point, the birthday party started dying down. People were going, and it was just me and my friend. And he's like, "Hey, you want to see this cool RPG? Because I know you like RPGs." And he's like, "Sure." And that's when he took out Xenoblade Chronicles 3. He's 3. There we go. The original Xenoblade Chronicles for the Wii. Not 3 for the Wii.
He saw into the future with his Monado.
Yeah, exactly. So it was literally just the opening scene of Xenoblade Chronicles. He didn't show me any part of the game, because I think at that point he was already in the second part of Tephra Cave, so he didn't show me any spoils. He didn't say anything about Fiora or anything like that. He just let me see the start of the game, and he let me play the game all the way up to the Mechon invasion, and I didn't see I didn't see how that resolved. I just saw the Mechon invasion.
So you didn't even see Fiora's death.
No, I didn't. So it was just all of that start, and I was like amazed at like the scope of the world, this like the sheer size of it, like the quality of it. Like for the Wii, that was quality. And then just seeing that they were taking like a zone in this game, and they're like, okay, well, here's Apocalypse, pretty much. Yeah. And it's like they're like changing stuff on that scale, and it was just like the scale of the game.
Yeah.
It just got me.
Oh yeah, it's the whole setting and premise of the game is something that just blows your mind. It's on the setting of two giant titans that like you can't get more creative than that. But you can. What's cool is the way you played through like the first like half of the first chapter of Xenoblade 1. I think that's what it was. The chapters in Xenoblade 1 are a little confusing, but one of my friends, he like came over to my house. He was visiting me from another city, and I had to like go out and like get something, and I was like, hey, you can stay here. In the meantime, play Xenoblade on my Switch. And he was like, oh, whatever. And he doesn't play games like that, but he played the battle.
Which one on the Switch?
Definitive edition. Yeah.
Oh, so, just the first one was nice.
Yeah, so he played the Battle of Sword Valley with Dunban, and he was like, this is cool. This is very cool. Just that hooked him. But what's funny is how I got into the series is I didn't really remember this until like earlier this year, I think. So Shulk was revealed to be a fighter in Smash 4. It was Smash 4 for Wii U and 3DS. And I was like, who is this guy? Shulk, who is he? And then I realized it was from that game Xenoblade Chronicles, which was hyped up and like the Operation Rainfall. And I was very young back then. I didn't know what was going on. Yeah. I was so confused. I was like, why do these people want this game to come here? Why is it not coming here in the first place? I was just very confused. But then I remembered Xenoblade Chronicles. Like I remembered that name. And then I remembered like, oh, I was like, this guy's from that game. And then later that summer, my cousin who was in college, I was in high school, he was like, hey, I don't know like what game to play. Like I'm at a loss. I'm looking for a new game to play. And I was like, oh, you should play that Xenoblade game where Shulk is in. And I hadn't even played Xenoblade then. And he was like, oh, sure, whatever. And then he plays it. And he was like, dude, you need to play this game. And I was like, oh, maybe whenever Zelda comes out and I beat Zelda. And Zelda didn't even come out for the next 2 years. So, and then I sort of like completely forgot about it. But then during the Switch life, Xenoblade 2 was there and I like saw a bit of that. So I was like, oh, they continued the series. And then I remember X, of course. X was hyped up as well. But what really got me into the series when I actually played a game for the first time is that same cousin texts me in like March 2020. He's like, hey, the Xenoblade Definitive Edition is releasing on Switch. And I was like, oh yeah, I completely forgot. And he was like, this is your time to play the game because it was hard to get. And like the 3DS version was not good. And I don't even have a new 3DS.
I did not finish it on 3DS. 3DS, it hurt. Like it was like hand cramp central. The pixels were like way down. It makes me upset because the DS version has amiibo functionality, and I'm like, why did that not carry over to the definitive? Come on, why did that not carry to the definitive?
I'm glad 3 has it though. That's nice that 3 has it.
Yeah, but it's interesting to hear because like, you know, it's like you're from the side that was like introduced to Shulk from Smash Brothers, more or less. So it's like funny because that's the second time Smash Bros. Has sort of done this, because in Melee, it's like, here's Ike, here's Roy. And
Roy and Ike, and Fire Emblem wouldn't be popular without them.
From that one RPG about this guy wielding the sword. And then Shulk is the next iteration on that.
And Smash has done that for a lot of series for me. Like, I guess it did that with Kingdom Hearts. I actually don't think it did because I started Kingdom Hearts before Smash. It did that with Persona though. Like that trailer for Joker made me go like, I need to figure out where this game is from, and then I'm now a huge Persona fan. But like back to my story about Xenoblade, I found like I got Xenoblade Definitive Edition, and I started. I was like, oh, whatever, it's okay. And then like the Colony 9 thing happened, and then Alchemoth happened, and then Sword Valley happened, and Valk Mountain, and all this stuff. It just escalates and escalates. And then I don't play Xenoblade 2 until the next year. And this is a quick little funny story. I heard, like, Xenoblade 2 is very hotly contested, very, I would say, sometimes controversial, because
it's never not going to be controversial.
Yeah.
There's people that will just outright dislike the way it's presented and the tropes and
So I only heard bad things about it. So I was just like, hey, I heard that these games are like connected, but they're not, and like no one is telling me how. So let me just find out how they're connected. And then my first ever kind of introduction to Xenoblade 2 was realizing that Klaus is the architect. But here's the thing, that wasn't like a disappointment to me. That was like, now I need to play this game.
That was like, you need to figure it out.
Yeah, I was like, I need to play this game. And it made it so much better at the end when you hear Shulk and it all comes together, and it's just great. And then Xenoblade 3 happened. I'm still playing through X, and I will beat that eventually. But
it's lovely. I have my Wii U on my desk. I was actually like replaying it like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh wait, it's X's anniversary, and then it's like, well, time to pop that up over like the holiday weekend if I get the chance.
Yeah, my Wii U is sitting right there under my bedside table because my desk is very cluttered, and it's either like my Switch or my PS5 here if I want to record like content on like my capture card, and then my Wii U is just sitting there. But yeah, I'll finish X eventually. I'm in Oblivia right now. And like I just arrived in Oblivia, like, and that's where I am.
Chapter
5.
3,
chapter 5. That's where it is.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's chapter 4 or 5.
I can't recall. Have you met the small aliens?
No, I've not met the small aliens. I met the blue aliens.
I'm not gonna say anything. Just prepare your ears.
Yeah.
That's all.
All right. Okay, I will. All right, let's continue with this. So this is kind of like a rapid fire question, sort of. So which games do you think, or which games do you think have the best soundtrack, story, and gameplay in the series? So it can be like 3 different games or 3 of the same.
Okay. Oh my. Okay, this is actually already rough because I love all of them. But for soundtrack, I'm going to have to say, in order, probably 2, 3, then 1. There's just something about. There's something about. Is that what yours is?
Yeah. That mine is the same. Yeah.
Because I think 2 has a very good opportunity because of all the different Titans being their own biome, so they play into it. But then they're like, hey, we can incorporate some of like the story into it, like the somberness of Tantal, especially like when you get to the towns versus like the Gormati. It's like very free spirited and it's like almost festive.
Yeah, and Morordain is like militaristic and prideful.
But then you're outside literally roaming the wastes.
Exactly, that's what I love, the dichotomy of that.
Yeah. It's iconic, and they choose to like make the most of each of the zones they present that music in. And then it just like, all the combat ones are excellent, and then you just get hit with all of the vocal tracks, which still make me tear up.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
Drifting Soul and all those,
Yeah, 3 is almost there, but there's just a little something missing, and there's a few zones I'm particularly disappointed in because, for example, like Mac the Wildwood is like
it's almost silence. It's just ambience.
It's exactly. It's silent in its ambience, and I just don't like that.
It's kind of Danik Desert as well, but Danik Desert has this foreboding feeling to it, which makes it a little more. Yeah.
I felt like that at the very first start, and then I went back and I listened to the entire soundtrack, every single thing. And Danag, I have a lot of respect for both Danag Day and Danag Night. I have my notes, but I can't find it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like there's a few things missing in that one. And for 1, it's like I love 1, but they weren't as they didn't reach as far as the other tracks would go. Yeah, well, like Gar Plains is iconic. Like, it's in Smash. It's the main one in Smash. Even it's the
Xenoblade song everyone recognizes instantly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it has a few iconic ones, but a few other ones that don't really reach or have as nearly as. No, I shouldn't say they have emotional depth, because to me they definitely have emotional depth. Like Sartorial Marsh Night theme.
Oh yeah, a tragic decision.
Like,
that's a good one.
Tragic decision.
Yeah.
Unfinished battle. All of these. Yeah, and it has my favorite track. I will say it's funny enough that it has my favorite village theme, Frontier Village Day theme.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a very nostalgic one. That takes me back to like the summer that I played Xenoblade 1 for the first time. Yeah, that's a very nostalgic track.
So as a complete package, 2, 3, 1, but like I love them all.
Where does X fall in there? I know X is very different with Sawano's soundtrack and all, but where do you think X falls in there?
See, X has a lot of really good ones, and then it just has a lot of really, I don't want to say weird ones, but it's like a strange direction, and it's like very unique and away from the way that Ace and Shimomura all went away from.
Yeah,
and it's like it's good, but I don't know how to pair it up against 2, 3, 1.
Yeah, it's a very different style entirely.
Yeah, I would say 2, 3. It would be 2, 3, 1 and X for me, but there are just like really good tracks. Like, I wish I could pop up my music right now on my phone.
Uncontrollable is a very good song from X. Like
Uncontrollable. Yeah. I need to find this before I forget.
And then what else is good? I like, this is a very random one, but I like the one that plays in the New LA Barracks. It's like that really jazz song on the guitar.
It is a good one.
It sounds like a song from Persona 5. I don't know if you played Persona 5. It sounds.
No, I haven't. It's on my list.
It sounds straight out of Persona 5, and that's awesome. I love that.
But like Black Tar actually is like fine. Like there's some lines in which slows down to the I need a bigger gun part. And it's like, We're Fliegen in the forest
good.
and The Way. Like listening to The Way is actually really strong.
The song that hooked me with X was the Kiwi Lost. The one that played in the trailers. I was like, oh, that's cool. This doesn't sound like Xenoblade 1. So
no, it's excellent in its own right, but I really can't compare it to or not can't compare it, but it's like I shouldn't compare it to 2, 3, 1 because different composer and different entry, I guess, compared to the rest of the series. Yeah, just a whole different approach.
But I agree with you. My favorite is 2. I think I'm at a loss with Xenoblade 2 and like Persona 5 being my favorite video game soundtrack of all time. I think it's gonna go to Xenoblade 2 because like Xenoblade 2 has just raw emotion in that music with so many like of the cutscene tracks and so many of the area themes. I think that game does area themes so well. And of course, like I love when video game music like almost tells its own story with the leitmotifs and stuff. Xenoblade 2 has the leitmotifs, but it uses that one leitmotif very well, the Where We Used to Be, Elysium in the Dream one. Like, you don't see it coming sometimes, and you're just like, whoa. That's what I love. Like, one of my favorite songs in that game is The Tomorrow With You, and when you hear that leitmotif, you're just like, wow, that makes the scene so much better the 2 times it plays. So yeah, 2 is my favorite soundtrack. 3 is a close second, because I realized that 3 has actually more leitmotifs than 2, I think, but they're so well hidden within the soundtrack. Because
there's some obvious ones, and then there's others that are just well hidden that you wouldn't think about unless you stop and just listen to the track by itself. Absolutely. I think that's the strength of 3.
There are these 2 channels. I completely forgot one of their names, but there's this one channel. I don't know if you've seen any of his videos. His channel is called Music Theory for Gamers. I don't know if you've seen his videos.
I have seen a few.
It's so cool because he like literally starts a live stream and he's never played the game. He's never listened to any of the music, and he listens to the music and analyzes it from a music theory point of view. And his last video for Xenoblade 2, he like ended the video in tears because he was like, I've never played this game, but like the raw emotion and the feelings I'm getting from this soundtrack are just out of this world. And I'm like, dude, just imagine playing the game and going through what's happening in this. Yeah, so like 2 takes the cake. Like the emotion is just amazing. And then for 3, there's another guy who like made a list of like the top 50 songs of Xenoblade 3, and he goes into it in the musical theory point of view as well. And that was when I was like, I went from 3 soundtrack is okay, I'm iffy on it, to like, I really like the soundtrack. And it better win on Thursday. It better win at the Game Awards. I don't think it will, but it really deserves to.
I hope it at least gets best music and score.
Yeah, because I personally...
It's such a range.
Yeah. I personally, like, I played God of War Ragnarok. I beat it this weekend, and it was great. Like, the game was amazing. The soundtrack itself was great, too, but I'm like, God of War, Xenoblade, like...
Yeah.
Listen to the soundtrack before voting, voters, please.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But, I also said gameplay and story, so favorite gameplay and favorite story. What are your thoughts on that? Like, which games in the series do you think are your favorites when it comes to that?
Right now. So right now in terms of story, it's very rough. I'll try and put it like the story itself versus the pacing of the way that story is told. Let me put it that way. So the first bit, I would have to say, if you include Torna, it's 2 plus Torna because it's the complete package. Torna adds a lot of depth to both explaining, like, because when I finished 2, I was like, it would be cool to see the Aegis War 500 years ago. It's like a few things felt a little left out on that. It would be cool to see that, and then we got that, and then it also adds more back into the start of 1, and we get more. We understand a better depth for Mithra and Pyra, and seeing a little more Mallow, seeing how awesome Adam was as a hero. It made
you get more of a Malphus as well. Yeah,
and of course Laura, because Frozen in Ice, you see a few things in the background, but you don't really get too much into Laura.
Yeah.
So it answered all of that perfectly. Then I would have to say 3, and then I would have to say 1. 1 was very amazing, obviously. Well, it's what hooked me into the series. But 3 managed to have a story told for all of the characters, like not just one arc, but every character having multiple different like parts of their experiences in the game evolve over time and challenged. Like for me, I was talking about this earlier today. Even people, I was like looking at someone who drew Lands, and they were like saying how they're sad that Lands gets like looked over, and it's like it's true. He gets looked over as just like a better written Ryan.
I looked that over in my first playthrough, and then one of my friends on Twitter, he was like, Lands is my favorite character, and I was like, wait, what? And then I like go back and watch the cutscenes, and I'm like, wow, Lands has grown. And I realized that my distaste for Lands and my dislike towards him came from like the initial impressions, because Lands is always like, oh, I don't want to introduce myself, I don't want to be with these guys, and Noah's like, Lands, come on, like just like be a part of the group.
No, he's great. He starts out great because he's the one character that is like he, more than anyone in the group, he's the one still clinging on to the old way as long as he can. Like even as like the group was going on for a while, he just still didn't have that trust up until like late into chapter 2.
Yeah,
I would say.
even Uni started to trust Mio and Senna almost immediately, and then of course she gets more closer with Tyon because they're the Ouroboros pair. But she was more like forthcoming towards Agnes than Lands was. But
sorry, just last thing on Lands. He's also, I think, the only character that had like a spat with someone on like the same faction side. Because after chapter 3, he has that spat. He has like that spat with Noah. Like after, like he's like very
chapter
aggressive
3.
like towards people. It was like after Yoren got introduced.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, I don't know how to feel, and he's taking on everyone, including Noah.
I remember that. Yeah, Lens is very good, and I remember like one of my friends, I got him for his birthday this year. I got him Xenoblade 1 because I was like, oh, the third one's coming out. I'm gonna give you this, and he surprisingly played it and enjoyed it because he's not too big on JRPGs, but he enjoyed it and he loved Ryan. He's like, Ryan is my favorite character. He's hilarious, and I was like, whenever you play 3, just get excited for Lance because he's Ryan but better in my opinion. My favorite goofy character in the series is Zeke. Zeke will always be my favorite from 2. He's like in my top 5 characters, and he's a S tier Xenoblade 2 character for me.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. For like goofy characters, I have to go Zeke because he can maintain the serious persona when it's necessary. Like this is the guy that like had the flashback with Amalthus, and he's talking about core crystals like in terms of like a slave market, and he can in the scenes, there's specific scenes where he can bring that out, like bring out that serious side, but then he just goes on right to being like goofy and lovable.
Yeah, it was very interesting seeing Zeke in that like table with like Amalthus and the Queen of Araya and Nile and Morag, and I was like, and then they say, please welcome Ozzy Kairos, whatever, and Zeke walks in, and I'm just laughing.
Ozzy Kairos, Tantal the Third.
Yeah, I'm just laughing. I'm like, Zeke, what's he doing here? I know he's Prince, but I want to see how this goes. And he's like calm, composed, he knows what to say. But my favorite Zeke line is at the end when Rex is so broken, he doesn't want to say goodbye to Numa, but he's like, chum, she's the girl you love, and to be a man you have to say goodbye or something. And I was just like, Zeke, that was nice. But
that was good. Yeah,
for when it comes to stories, for me, when I rank them, it's interesting. It's almost the complete opposite of yours. For me, it goes 3, 1, 2. And that's not, again, like you said, that's not to say that I dislike any of them. But for 2, I will say this. 2, I was very confused at a lot of points in the story. Like, there were points where I was like, why are we helping out these kids in Gormott? Like, I don't understand why. Why are we, like, figuring out like this, why are we figuring out the secret of Tora's dad and this blade? But you know when it all clicked is at the very end when you're fighting Amalthus and he says, you've had your little trip around Allrest and you've seen all the pain and misery that everyone goes through, and then it just clicked. I was like, to be in the situation that I am now, I had to have gone through all of that to fully understand what Amalthus, Malos, and Jin are feeling in this moment. So,
you see, that's why I said at the start, it's like I'm going to switch it between like the story itself and then the pacing of the story, because I think 2 has the worst pacing by far. That's attributed. It's weird to me because if you showed me the game after chapter 4, like right as the More Ardain arc is closing.
Yeah, when you go to Leftheria.
And then you go through Leftheria, then you stop at Fonzet, and then it just goes on from there onward. I think 4 onward has very good pacing and very good flow, but it's that it's those early slower chapters where there's a lot of detours. Yeah. And it's like they're clearly using it to make points, but it's just those kinds of detours.
Yeah.
It just feels off. Also, it has obviously like the hour-long tutorial for the first for the people who are playing for the first time, where there's not that much going on up until you go on the ship, or you go into the sunken ship. So for a while, there's not really much happening. The build-up is not nearly as strong compared to 1, 3, even X. You know, it's like you land, you create your character, you're like, hey, here's the gun, we got to get to the town. And it's you're like free to explore, but you got to get to town. I think 1, even more than 3, has the best pacing for the story. Oh yeah, for sure. Because 1 just escalates and escalates and escalates and twists and turns, and it just keeps you engaged the entire time. And it pairs up beautifully with the way the 2 Titans are set up, because you're going up Bionis, and then you just go. There's no like side islands. There's no like alternate things. Every like little side detour takes you further up the Titan to your goal anyway. Yeah. You know? Do you go
No, you don't go. You sort of do go down Mechonis when you fall off Galahad Fortress, but then you climb back up again on Mechonis Field. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but one's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go on. It's just like yeah. One is the best pacing, and it pairs up with the story like extremely well. 3, I was fine with. I was surprised at the speed of the months relative to the chapters, because it's like, what was it like? Right as you're finished with the second region, it's like a month's already gone by or something canonically in game, or like around Lambda or something, like a month's already gone by, and then by the time you get to city canonically, another month's gone. Another month goes by.
I think the first time they mentioned that is when you get Ethel as a hero. I think they say like Ethel's like, oh, the time it'll take to sword march will be this many months, and you have this much time left or something. Yeah.
It's a tricky thing when you have to relate time in game, when you have to like equate time in game, especially in an RPG where you can like rewind time. It's like whatever to change the time of day, but it's like it's tricky to budget time with the depth and like the exploration of the game, to say, because then it feels awkward when you're doing all the side content and it's like Mio's like begging to like move on with the main story, and Noah's like, no, I will teach the Snop-on to play the flute.
Yeah, I was thinking about that same meme.
It will take many moons.
Yeah, I was thinking about that exact same meme. Yeah. But I think 3 has some of the 2 and 3 have the best moments to me, like just perfect moments. But I think 3 just has really 1 through 5, chapter 1 through 5. Had just an amazing ride when it comes to the story, and a lot of things like with us making like having a lot of headcanon and theories, a lot was like subverting my expectations in a very good way.
Right.
But
especially especially after chapter 3, because then the chapters become much longer.
Yeah.
Like the Ethel Kamaravi fight, I expected that to be the end of the chapter 4, and it wasn't.
Yeah. And then chapter 4 and 5 were so good, and chapter 5, like I know like you said you like stayed up till like 5 a.m. playing it. I stayed up till like 3 a.m. playing it, and I was like, I cannot stop until I have like a solid resolution in this chapter. It just hooks you.
That stream took me out. That was a 9-hour stream. The only stream that was longer was the stream for the final boss. And to be honest, part of that's because I died to it like 3 times.
Oh, you were playing on hard mode too, so yeah.
I did the whole story on hard mode except for the first fight with D. I guess at that point it's DJ.
Yeah, it's DJ, and you don't know it's D yet.
Yeah, not Mr. World.
Mr. Wild Ride.
Mr. Wild Ride.
Yeah.
Mr. World, what am I saying?
Yeah. Pitbull is in the villain of Xenoblade 3.
Mr. Worldwide. Exactly.
Yeah. But I enjoyed 3's story. I personally, like, when I finished the game, only then I realized people had a lot of like issues with chapter 6 and 7. I didn't personally have those issues, but I understand where people are coming from. And then 2, like the pacing of 2 was all over the place. But I will say 2 has my 2 has my favorite ending in the entire series, though. Probably one of my favorite endings of any video game. Xenoblade 2, the ending is emotional, it's amazing, and the music is great. And the only like downside about the ending is like, for like a year, I mean, like I played it last year, the game is like 5 years old now. I was like, why did Pyra and Mithra come back? That goodbye was so good, and it was so like great and made me so sad, but then they're back.
But I think there's ambiguity with that.
Yeah, I think 3 kind of like gave you sort of more to like speculate on that with the picture, you know?
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of ambiguity with Pyra and Mithra because I believe in like the Japanese, in the if you took the lips, the way the lips moved in Japanese, it was like there were several different ways it could have gone.
It's like I am Pyra or something.
I'm Pyra, or it's like or it's like she says Rex's name in one of the possible ways, and there was like another third way I can remember. So there's a lot of different ways to go about it. But again, the picture just seems to like give us the inclination that it was a gift from their father that they remember or something like that. One final gift, all that.
Yeah. All right. Favorite songs in the series. This is a tough one because I have so many favorite songs. I have an entire playlist on YouTube and on Spotify of Xenoblade songs.
I'm gonna open up my album. This is the only one I didn't prepare for, I think.
Yeah.
Let's open. Let's see, definitive edition. Let's start. I'm gonna start 1 through 3. I'm gonna try and go through this very fast. Obviously, Guard Plains. I said Satoral Marsh Night theme. That one still sticks. Frontier Village Day theme. Aerith Sea at Daytime. I'm sorry, I can't say just one because there's like so many that are just iconic.
Oh yeah.
Valak Mountain at Night theme. And this is like, of course, I'm not even saying any of the combat ones because the combat ones are always good. Again,
and the cutscene ones.
Yeah, I mentioned Unfinished Battle. That one's not there. I will say the ending songs for all of them. I love all of them. Beyond the Sky was like one of my favorite songs to listen to for quite a while.
Yeah, that's a very nostalgic song, even though it's like nostalgia from 2 years back. I'll never forget beating that game for the first time. Yeah.
I mentioned Your Way as well for Xenoblade X. In the let's see, for 2 though, definitely
2 has a lot.
2 is a lot. Roaming the Wastes, absolutely. The Toragath Day theme. Oh no, too much. I also loved obviously the combat theme for Torna.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
Because it's funny because after that point, it's like you could tell like the jazz inspiration starts at that point.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Xenoblade 3 jazz battle themes.
Yeah,
because Future Connected got it with Time to Fight, or like now we know it as Brilliant Wings, and then Xenoblade 2 got it with the Torna battle, and then Xenoblade 3 hopefully gets it with the DLC.
I know. I would love to see someone who can mesh Brilliant Wings with the Bionis Shoulder theme and have the flute and the saxophone play at the exact same time. I want to see something. That
sounds like something that they would put in Smash Bros. If Melia was announced as a fighter.
They need to go even crazier. They need to go further into the jazz. Absolutely.
What's your favorite from 3, or like what are some of your favorites from 3?
Obviously both the vocal tracks, A Step Away and Where We Belong. Like that video that I was just editing on my channel, because I incorporated some of the cutscenes, and I was editing, and I had to listen and watch the cutscenes several times to make sure it was fine with the footage. And I was like just editing through tears. And like,
that's such a good scene, because you hear that song in the direct, and then they posted it on Twitter, and you're like, when is this gonna play? I thought it would be like Drifting Soul, where it's like in a battle or something, but the way that is presented in the game is so genius. So good. Yeah, I teared up then too. It was great.
Yeah, so if I had to say a few more, for 3, End's Oblivion, the final theme for N.
Is that the one where you fight him in Origin?
It's the second part where you fight him in Origin. Yes.
Okay.
And you can like start seeing like the resolution with that character pick up in that theme.
Oh yeah,
It was incredible. Yeah. I think Eclipse, the theme called Eclipse that plays literally during the eclipse. It's actually, I listened to it. It's like over 7 minutes long. That song carries the weight of, I want to say, so many different arcs in that game, that thing's like a very good, that song is a very good representation of the game as a whole, I would have to say. And I know this is probably pretty troll because a lot of people are traumatized from it, but the Chain Attack theme.
I am not kidding when I say that Chain Attack is one of my favorite songs in the series. And I am not kidding when I say that song, I did not get tired of it. If it was the only battle theme in 3, I would be fine, because it's so good and so catchy. And that's not to say that like all the other battle themes aren't good, because I love them all, but I just love Chain Attack so much. I really wanted to play in the Game Awards on Thursday, but I don't know what they're gonna play at the Game Awards, but hopefully something good.
They start playing the homecoming ceremony, the people on the stage start glowing. Everyone's confused that all Xenoblade fans are in fear.
Yeah, 95% of the audience who hasn't played the game is like, oh, these flutes are going hardcore, yeah. And then the people who have played it, they're like, no! Yeah, but let's see.
Sorry, just one more tangent with that. I hope if they do bring the flutes for any part of the Xenoblade theme, I would absolutely lose my mind if they used the off-seer flutes. Because there are off-seer flutes out there. There's people making them, and then obviously there's
Mitsuda's flutes,
Yeah, the Mitsuda ones.
So like, I really hope Jeff Keighley has like done his research on this, and if he brings, like, if he has that, like, the Life Sent On, that's the song, if he has that play, I want it to be that specific guy in that specific video who played the song for Mitsuda with the specific flute. I'm like, Jeff Keighley, please do this right. Please, you have one job.
I hope so. The orchestras are always phenomenal. It's just I want to know how much they'll incorporate Xenoblade. And that's, again, the good thing is Xenoblade 3's themes are so versatile. I feel like they could go in a lot of different ways with that. It's just I hope they do the research and they know that they have that kind of like levity because the track is just so expansive.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go all over the place with songs. So I think my favorite Xenoblade song always changes. When I first played Definitive Edition, it was Engage the Enemy. And I was like, this is the best video game song I've ever heard. And then when it was 2, it's funny because I heard Counterattack for the first time, and then I listened to it over and over, and I'm like, this song's got nothing on Engage the Enemy. It sucks. But then I like listened to it more, and then I played the game more, and I was like, this song is amazing. It's so good. So Counterattack is up there, obviously. You Will Recall Our Names is up there. I love that song. It's probably my favorite Unique Monster theme. But now I think my favorite Xenoblade song is Weight of Life, because Weight of Life is used very sparingly, but it's just a very, like, it's a very high octane theme, because it's like, this is the weight of life, this is like, we are fighting for every single ounce of like being in ourselves, and like the Nintendo like tweeted the song, and their tweet was very good. I forgot what it said, but it was like, this song plays when Noah, Mio, and their friends are fighting for their lives or something, and that's what the song truly like encapsulates, and I love it. It's basically all of, it's like the theme of the Ouroboros team, I feel, and I love that it has bits of Engage the Enemy and Counterattack. So it's like these heroes have had their adventure in the past, but this is our adventure now, and we've learned a thing or two from them, even though they don't know what's happened. They're just carrying on that legacy. So I like that.
And their factions being representative of both those prior worlds.
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah, definitely. And then what else do I like? I like A Tragic Decision a lot. That's a very good one. There's always that really powerful song about the sympathetic villain. So Tragic Decision for Egil in 1, The Power of Jin for Jin in 2, and then for 3, it's The Words That Never Reached You for N. And I love that one. That one's really good. It was also destroyed by Chain Attack, unfortunately, but that's the meme. But Words That Never Reached You is good because I did not realize until a little later that it's sort of like an inverse of Weight of Life. I don't know if you got that, but that's a cool little Easter egg.
I may need to go back into that if
it's
that's the case.
Very subtle, but you can hear it. Also, an honorable mention for 3 goes to Mobius Battle, but not only just Mobius Battle, but the Mobius Battle with M, because like you hear the flutes in that and you're just like, it's because you're fighting M and she's Mio. But then when you figure out later on that switch has already happened, then you're just like, whoa.
It plays into it.
Yeah, you're like,
Absolutely.
that song was trying to tell us something. So that was really cool. I really like that.
All the signs were there, and it's like, the way they handle those kinds of things is just brilliant.
Yeah, and then I guess like area themes, I love Araya, Kingdom of Araya, Day and Night, very good. I love how Araya's daytime theme has the flute, and it's almost as if the Orion Titan is like singing the song.
Right.
Yeah, there's a YouTube comment of someone saying that, and I was like, wow, I never thought of that. That's so cool. And then Leftheria, Morardain. I think all the area themes in Xenoblade 2 are amazing. Argentum, Gormott,
Garfont Village.
Garfont Village.
I forgot about Garfont.
Yeah, very underrated.
It's a very homey one.
Yeah, Garfont Village is great. Yeah. Even Fonzamaima and Alba Kavanich, those are really good themes as well. Yeah. So yeah, Xenoblade has just amazing music. I feel like it's often very kind of overlooked, because I feel like a lot of modern games just have like ambient music, and they're like, people are just like, oh, it's the vibes, and I'm like, yeah, but Xenoblade not only like has the vibes of this music, they are very well written songs with lots of variation and just sweeping symphonies, but they also like tell their own stories with their motifs and just the musical thematic elements they have into it. It's just so genius.
I love how again the motifs in 3, like bar none, like it's something that I say, like, obviously you can play 3 without having done 1 and 2, but I think a part of that music, a part of that is in the music. A part of the enjoyment of having played 1 and 2 is in the music, because of those motifs being there.
Yeah, you hear it.
You hear it, and you remember like what was playing around those themes. It's like, whose theme was that?
Yeah.
What was that character's like goal and like motives, and what was their philosophy? And then you see that like sort of strung back into 3 as a result.
Oh yeah, like the biggest ones I can think of are, of course, Great Sword's base. You hear Sword Valley's theme, and then another one is Great Cot Falls. You hear Machna Forest in there.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
that made me realize, I was like, these waterfalls is, I think this is where Shulk met Alvis for the first time in Machna Forest.
And then the Fallen Arm theme.
Oh yeah, that's actually what's that? Hidden Machina Village, I think.
Yes.
In Ellis Highway.
It was like a little bit of both in that one.
Yeah.
Because I'm climbing. I remember climbing up. It's Zane's
the distant
town,
fingertip.
It's the distant fingertip.
Yeah.
And you're climbing it up just a little bit, and then I remember hearing the motif begin to play. I'm just like, no.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh.
And then there's a lot of that. Of course, the Queen's themes. You hear Eretzi and Alchemoth and Melia. You hear Drifting Soul and Nia's. And then there's more I can't really think of right now. I think Milik Meadows has a little bit of Gormod. I'm not entirely sure about that. I'm not 100% sure. But
I think it definitely did.
Yeah.
I think so, if I remember.
Yeah. But I think what's that? Arithia C had some Leftheria in it, but it's a more like somber Leftheria version, because just with what's going on and stuff.
No,
but it's interesting because Leftheria is a very lively and happy place, and the song is very like soothing and happy and peaceful. Yeah. So yeah, let me see what's next. Okay, so this we also might have a lot to talk about as well. Favorite or most memorable emotional moments in the series? We already talked about the Step Away 1 and 3. That's a big one.
Okay. If I had to try and not use the endings, Silver Face Reveal in 1.
Oh yeah, that was good.
The whole conclusion to the Battle for Aerith Sea. Like,
oh yeah, on Prison Island, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then obviously followed up with the Coniscore events.
Yeah. I like the moment on Valak Mountain where it's a Dunban versus Mumkar, because you like see like something change in Dunban, because he's like, the guy who killed my sister and who's like done all this wrong to us was my comrade. And then you see him change in Valak Mountain, and then you see him like go hardcore in Sword Valley. Like he's like about to like actually kill this guy, like break the Dunban cardinal rule, and then Shulk is like, no, this is not you, Dunban. I just love that moment.
And it's especially more contrasting with how he normally acts, because he's the, you know, the reserved character in the group. And it's like, you see him, it's like, you're the one that killed my sister, huh?
Yeah.
It's like he realizes, and it's like, and then it's like you find out it was like his war buddy, essentially.
Yeah.
And so he has to kill one of his war friends, and it's like finding out that he's responsible for the murder of like hundreds.
Yeah, that was cool. For what do you have for Xenoblade 2? Because for me, Xenoblade 2 has like the most impactful emotional moments. Of course, exit Van Damme, enter Mithra. That was a really good one. Minus Rex's screams, but whatever. Alweaver gets better throughout the game. I will say that. He gets a lot better throughout the game.
The screams got better after Chapter 7. After Chapter 7, his yelling got significantly better.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little weird at that point that they choose to, like, sort of have him go along that, but yeah.
But even after Chapter 3 and 4, the whole performance of Alweaver gets better. So I'm hoping the Xenoblade 3 DLC is Alweaver's redemption arc. So we'll see.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll say one that's like not, I'm sure not a lot of people think about, because it's not really.
I hope it's not my second one that I'm gonna say for 2, but you go ahead. No. We'll see.
So I have 2 ones. One's really small, and it's not even related to the main story. It's actually Vess's quest when Mabon dies.
Oh, that was. I was playing in handheld on my bed, and that happened. I had to like drop my Switch, and I was like, what? When
he actually just like passed right away.
Yeah,
but he's like,
he was like, oh, I love these chocolates. They're so good. And then you hear Vess's core crystal drop, and you're just like, dang, no.
Because he's at the end of it, like he has that little bit of satisfaction with you do the turn-in quest for him, but he gives you the satisfaction. He gives you like the last bit of his life story, and he's literally just like talking about Vess and his kids, and then he passes. But that it's like it's a small one, but it sticks with me for a reason. Yeah, definitely.
Yes,
and then the bigger emotional one that's not like the ending, of course, and obviously I'm gonna skip the Chapter 7 one as well when Rex opens up to Pyre and Mithra, because that one's like a given.
Oh, okay. I was gonna talk about that one actually.
Yeah, that's a given for everyone, so I'll let you talk about that, but that one is for me. But the biggest hit for me, we're locked out by Professor Claus.
Oh yeah. That's
because the same thing. I finished all of the story of Xenoblade 2 in 3 days, nonstop. I waited. I didn't get the opportunity to play on its release, but when winter vacation finally hit for me, I was like absolutely blessed. I had the house to myself for like a week. All I did was sit in bed and just burn through the game story.
And you didn't see any spoilers or anything?
No, I didn't.
So that reveal must have like blown your mind.
Well, see, because again, like I wasn't on Twitter or anything like that till recently. Like I only started my Twitter like at the very end of last year. So it's like obviously like everyone's on the internet, but like I wasn't like purposefully exposing myself by being on websites like Twitter or anything like that. All the one Facebook group I was in for Xenoblade has like a very stringent spoiler policy, so like I was not gonna see anything. But I remember sitting down and like it's like, okay, it's like we're going up the tree, a few things are like happening, but it's not like making me like actually tear, or it's like it is making me tear, but it's not like getting that hard reaction. And then I hear we're locked up by Professor Claus. I can't tell you. I think my heart rate doubled, and I jumped out of my bed and I like yelled.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Like in almost like
that's cool because
like Joy-Con boys hype.
Yeah. Like I knew it was coming, but just seeing it in all its glory, like because I saw the cutscene in Definitive Edition that wasn't changed from the original Xenoblade, and then I saw this version. I was like, this version is so much cooler. It's got so much more context. And then you like hear Klaus's story, and then this was the one that like blew my mind when he said Ontos Logos Numa, Ontos left and made a space-time dimension thing, and I was like, that's Elvis!
Right? And it's so crazy that caused like a war for like so many years that they're like, okay, here's Definitive Edition, here's the one change we made. You see that thing around Elvis's neck? It was a key. It's a core crystal.
It's the Aegis core crystal. Yeah, it's him.
Yeah, there's your hint. By the way, Shulk, he's a driver now.
Yeah, that's
but
like
it makes sense.
I have like a friend of mine who's like another like influence who got me into Xenoblade, and I would like ask him so many questions while I was playing 2, and like I would update him on my progress and ask him questions and all that. So I like asked him, I was like, dude, is Shulk Elvis's driver? And he was like, I guess so. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. But yeah, I want to talk about some moments from Xenoblade 2. So yeah, I said exit Van Damme, enter Mythra. That was very good. That was the first time I like sort of teared up, because I was like, dang, this Van Damme guy actually died. And then my second one is, there's so many moments in chapter 7. So I will say, like, of course, the beginning where Rex is like not feeling it, and then he gets slapped by Bridget and punched by Nia, and like the whole pep talk, that was very good. That was nice. And I will say, Spirit Crucible Elpis was not a fun dungeon. Gameplay wise, it was terrible, but the moments in that dungeon are the reason why Nia is my favorite character in the series. And everyone's like, ha ha ha, Nia got friend zoned, ha ha ha. That was like the moment that like actually made me tear up, because that's just a very wholesome moment. Because like Rex is a 15-year-old kid, so like of course he's gonna say something like that. He's not gonna be like, Nia, you're the love of my life, or like he's not gonna have like some really deep conversation with Nia on the spot. The guy that Rex is in that moment, he's gonna say something like that. So it just felt so genuine and wholesome, and like ever since that moment I was like, my true ship for Xenoblade 2 is Rex and Nia, and now everyone is happy in the end of Xenoblade 3.
Everyone's happy, yeah, exactly.
Everyone's happy, so that's good. But that was a very, very good moment, because throughout all this time, Nia is so ashamed of who she is. The whole part where Niall dies and then he comes back to life, she's like, I don't want to make the same mistakes that I did when Van Damme died, so I want to like give back in any way that I can. It's just interesting seeing that whole thing with her bringing back Niall to life, but she still has that deep rooted like regret, and kind of she just feels ashamed of who she is, because she was outcasted in Torgoth. She was an outcast like just in the world, and then she was hunted by Indal, and then Torna took her in, but like Torna just didn't really care for her as much, right? And then she found a family in Rex, enough to confide in Rex and be like, this is my past, it's not like the best, it's not like I came from a very like tough past with my family and all that. And then like the way she describes it to Rex, he doesn't really understand that like the whole situation, because she doesn't flat out say, I'm a flesh eater, my sister is not really my sister, kind of like that, right? But then you seeing the flashbacks, you kind of understand it. But then her coming to the realization in that moment with the phantasm battle, and she's like, I'm not afraid anymore. That's just a really, really awesome moment.
And it was Rex that did it.
Yeah, it's Rex, and
it's his acceptance, because he accepts Nia the same way that he accepts Nia or Mythra and Pyra.
But another thing is another chapter 7 moment is, of course, you get to Cliffs of Mortha, you hear Still Move Forward, and you're like, yeah, we're gonna get Pyra back, it's gonna be all good, right? And then you get there and you see her like lifeless body on the floor, and you're like, oh my god, we lost. What's happening? Like, this is the end. Pyra's dead, what's going on? And then you start fighting, and then Tomorrow With You starts playing the most, like, one of the most emotional songs in the series. And then, like, out of nowhere, Mythra and Pyra talk to Rex. They're like, please give up. This is not, like, we don't want you to go through this anymore. This is all our fault. And that's when they drop the bomb. Like, this is why we wanted to go to the Architect to beg us to let us die. And that's when, like, I didn't really pick up on that throughout the game, but a lot of people said that they did. I just didn't. I was just like, why do we need to go to Elysium? I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. And then when you got to that moment, like, I just got it. I was like, wow.
Well,
wow.
a lot of the Elysium thing was mostly for Rex's side, because it's like, oh, the Titans are dying. It's like, this is why we need
to find an answer for a better future.
And then you realize, for a lot of people, including myself, it's like you realize Pyra and Mythra never said why they need to reach Elysium themselves. And then it also, like, does this whole deal where it's like, did Pyra use Rex at the start of the game? And then that gets added further on in Torna, where they have the vision of Rex right before isolating themselves. So they know who Rex is because they have, like, a little glimpse of him. So, but they're essentially at the start of the game using Rex, in a little bit of a way. But then you see that over the course of the game, like, growing.
They develop, like, a relationship,
appreciation, or like that relationship they have with Rex. You see it. You see it develop.
Yeah. Do you think that vision of the future was, like, some part of Mythra's foresight or something?
It could have been foresight, honestly.
Yeah.
It could have been.
Yeah, because she doesn't have, like, Monado visions. That's a Zanza thing. So, like, it's probably the foresight that she has. Yeah. Yeah,
well, she was she was, at that point, she was also tapping into Ion. So she had the full power of the conduit. Yeah. At that point. So it could have been.
Yeah, the conduit can do some crazy things. So next question, I want to make this a really quick one because my answer is also quick. Do you have any experience with Gears and Saga? So Xenogears and Xenosaga. Have you played them?
Is the answer no for you? Because it's no for me as well, unfortunately.
Well, the answer is no for Saga for me. Like, I don't know basically anything about Xenosaga. But Xenogears, I watched a recap of it before Xenoblade 3, and I didn't really get it. And then I watched a recap of it after Xenoblade 3, and I'm like, wow, this is one of the greatest video game stories I have ever, like, heard, but I've not experienced. But I don't know if I want to play the game because it's so, like, outdated and, like, disc 2 and all that. But the story is so good. It's basically Xenoblade 3, but M-rated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I've started Enel's playthrough of Xenosaga, but then at some point I just had to drop it. I do need to go back to it and either watch it or I just need to find some way to get my hands on it. I think I have a friend, I think they have all of Xenosaga, so maybe I'll get to begging them at some point for it. But no, I would love to play them. It's just the opportunity to.
Oh yeah. But if you ever get the chance, or if you're curious enough, or if you, like, are okay with watching a story recap before playing the game, I suggest looking into Gears, because I think personally, in my humble opinion, I think Xenoblade 3 and Xenogears are the two best Tetsuya Takahashi stories that he's ever made.
Well, I've heard, especially, like, how because Luxon is, like, an advocate for Gears and all of that. I've heard a lot of people say 3 is just the vision of Gears.
Yes, and I don't want to go into it too much, but the whole Noah, Mio, NM, that whole cycle, it is literally taken from Xenogears and put into Xenoblade.
No, I've seen those memes.
Yeah, and it's done in a absolutely genius way. It's amazing.
So many people looking at D's console design.
Oh yeah, he looks like Garf, or Groff.
Yeah, Groff. Secret power.
Yeah. But next question is, you did talk about this a little bit in your latest video, and you have many other Xenoblade 3 related videos coming soon, I know. But what are some of the biggest, I guess, negative points you had with Xenoblade 3 are complaints, because only after I beat the game is when I saw a whole influx of like, Xenoblade 2 is better, Xenoblade 2 did all this stuff better, and even though I personally don't agree, it was interesting for me to see all that because I didn't expect to see that before the launch of 3.
I think for a lot of people, they had their honeymoon phase taken out of them with 3, and that's when they had their own moments of scrutiny. For me, it's like I noticed a lot of people didn't like Yorn or didn't like Shania, whereas I love both of those inclusions. I think 3 has one of the best. Both 2 and 3 do this really well. Is they're like, here's the way the world works, and there's like side quests or characters or whatnot that like there's like, here's how a person of this with this like outlook, and this is how they behave with this system. Like you have in 2, you have Praxis and Theory, going against their, like, killing their driver. Whereas you have other blades who like are locked up because of the powers they possess. There's like a whole variation of like the ways they handle the blade system. And for 3, like Yorn and Shania are perfect opposing parallels, because they both appreciate how it could be on the other side, like the power, like Yorn wanting to live a full life just once, away from all this pain, and just
and just be respected for like who he was, I guess. Yeah, he was always put down, he was always at the bottom of the ladder, but he wanted to be the bird flying high.
Right. Whereas
same with Shania, kind of. Yeah,
she wants the second she doesn't want her city life. She might, but she wants the opportunity to start over again. And she's like, here's these people, every 10 years they have a chance to make something of themselves.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Yorin, I didn't mind him until a little later. I was just like, oh, he's getting a little annoying, whatever. But like,
Yorin creeped me out at the start.
Yorin was a little frightening, unnerved. Because I expected pre-release, I don't remember if you predicted this, but a few other people predicted this. People thought that console O was going to be Yorin, but grown up.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
I think that's in one of my own predictions, actually.
Yeah. But Yorin was console J, but his whole like jester outfit, and when he like takes off his mask, he's like, "Hello, lands," and I'm like, "Oh boy, that's the stuff of nightmares." Yeah. But with Shania, the thing is, the whole thing with Shania is like, I knew something was not right with her conversations with the team, especially with Senna. She was like kind of like taunting Senna, making fun of Senna, and she was like, "Oh, you do things this way, you feel this way towards your friend Mio. Oh, you call her Mimi. Oh, why is that so?" And just her tone and her approach to everything. Right. I was like, why is she like this? So like,
just very cold right out the bat.
Yeah, just giving the straight up cold shoulder. And you kind of like the whole twist that Shania's working with Mobius, it doesn't come out of nowhere, but the way she like portrays herself in that villain kind of role, just it was really taunting and very aggravating. So I was very, very against Shania, but I will say, with Senna's side story, Gondor's side story, whatever you want to call it, I came to understand Shania a lot more when you see that she was an artist, and like it was nice seeing her relationship with her father, how her father was supportive, but her mother wasn't. So, and her mother was the one who wanted that recognition. She was like, "We are House Reed, we need to be at the top. We're like a founder house of..."
Your sister failed, so it's up to you.
Yeah.
What, you placed in the top 10 for Ouroboros, you're not in the top 6.
Yeah,
you
like...
you need to be there.
Yeah, that's a more relatable thing, so I liked seeing that backstory for Shania.
Shania's biggest sin is that she took up more of Senna's side story.
Yeah,
that's her biggest issue. But otherwise, I enjoyed her character.
Yeah,
she was fine.
I think she was a well-written character, all in all, well written. But
Other things I have problems with in 3. Gold is near worthless.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
There needs to be the bards. I really hope one of the DLC brings back the bards.
Who are the bards?
Maybe the bards from Xenoblade 2 were a DLC edition. Or maybe I don't even know if it's part of the DLC or if it was part of the base game. I have to go back. But at one point there was an update where they're like, here are bards. They're in different towns around Xenoblade 2. For specific currencies, they'll give you pieces of like gear or accessories or items like that. Some of them, this is the brilliance of that system. It's like, New Game Plus, you can D-level, but you have all this XP sitting at the end.
Yeah.
Some of those bards took EXP as a currency.
Wow.
And other ones took gold as a currency.
Were they musicians?
Yeah. And it's like, someone could argue, it's like, well, that doesn't make sense because the only musicians in 3 are off-seers.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it could be city bards, it could be traveling Nopon merchants. It's like, there could be a few different things. Or maybe you find, after you liberate some colonies, you find out like some soldiers have been like interested in learning music, and they're like, here, it's like, I'll play you a tune. It's like, if you have this, I'll play you a tune. Something like that.
I have a good idea for them to include that. This remember the street performer in the city? What if it's like various street performers in the city, or like various street performers or like bards within the colonies, kind of like that? I don't know. That's a cool idea. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess obviously Riku and the Nopon, I'm almost terrified of the Nopon in 3, because it's like, I thought they were part of the soldiers, and then you look at them in the in the affinity chart, and some of them are like 30s and 40 years old. I'm like, they're 30 plus year old, they're 40 plus year old, but they don't notice that like this kid just died, or it's like this soldier just died, and there's a little version of him that showed up like a few months later. Like, what's going on with that? Like, they're like oblivious to the situation. Like, the mechanics are there. They're it's like, we're living for like 30 plus years, but we don't see any of the same mechanics. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
and
the Nopon in 3 are strange to say the least, but the Nopon characters are my favorite in the
without a doubt.
Riku is my favorite Nopon.
I love Riku, but I hate how ambiguous he is. Like, why does he have the sword? Why is he nodding to Melia? Why is he like withholding like the pep talk till certain points in the story? He had a month in prison to pep talk Noah. Why did he only do it during the execution?
He waited for the right time. He's like, call the sword. But this actually leads into the next topic I wanted to talk about with you. And it's about the DLC, because this whole Riku shenanigans, if it's a prequel, if it's a Founders prequel, I think Riku's gonna be there, and he's gonna be like building that Lucky 7 with the Founders.
The original builder?
I think he's gonna be one of the Nopon 7 who builds Lucky 7 with Origin Metal. I don't know how that will work as a story, but I can see that being the DLC if they go the prequel route. And that would still allow Shulk and Rex to be there, because they would be the mentors of Reed and Cassini. And also, I don't know if you watch this channel. The channel's name is Meeks. Do you know Meeks?
Meeks? No, I don't think I have.
So they make Xenoblade lore videos, but they don't talk. They just have like text popping up between like gameplay footage, right? And they have like really, really, really good videos on like just random lore and theories and stuff. I'll send you their channel later, but they're really cool. So one of their videos was about the Founders, and his theory, or their theory, was that it was really cool. They said that maybe the reason we haven't seen the actual statues of Cassini and Reed is because we already know what they look like. What if, because you know how they like to reuse character models in the DLC, like they reused Niall for Hugo. What if the founder of House Cassini was like an older version of Gondor, and what if the founder of House Reed was an older version of Shania? So Shania would be mentored by Shulk, and Gondor would be mentored by Rex, but they would be named differently, and their personalities would be a little different. So they might be like friends. Gondor and Shania would be friends, but more like cordial friends, and Shania would be a little more nicer and stuff. So that would be very cool to see if they actually do that.
That would be interesting, but it'd also be a very cruel ploy on how Shania hard time is.
Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna have to say sequel, because I was originally hoping for a prequel as well, and I sort of realized that I enjoyed the ambiguity of the founders, because some of it was like, you know, very clear, like you see Shulk, you see someone that looks a little like Numa, which like is a little like speculative, because it's like then you see the picture. So I'm like, how's Numa take place? Because Numa requires you know, the conduit, among other things. So it's a little speculative. You see one that looks almost like Mio. There's the obvious one that looks like Noah, or like an older Noah, but obviously it has the correlation to Faye, I think.
Faye, he looks like Faye, where he's going like this. That's the coolest Xenogears reference they did in that game. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So there's some ambiguity, but it's also, I don't think it's it's fine to leave that part. Out of everything that's obscure in 3, I feel like the founders are like the part where it's fine to leave it as speculation for the players. And I would appreciate seeing a sequel. It's just, I don't know how they would have that sequel and how they could have combat incorporated into that sequel, or a motive
outside of Ionios.
For that. Yes, because Ionios is the resolution. As far as we know, the ending of 3 is the resolution to the Cloud Saga. Yeah. So if it is a sequel, it has to be something either in the new world, or it's like just as the world's form or something like that. It has to be something new, and there has to be some form of new threat. So the only way I could see of it being like a proper sequel like that is, again, new world with some minor new threat. Or it's like a very tame sequel that has its own resolution. Or it leads into whatever the next step of Xenoblade will be. Or it could tie into X for some reason. Yeah. But I think and hope for a sequel as opposed to a prequel. Yeah. It could work either way. That's the other thing. All this obscurity stuff could be explained in both a prequel or a sequel.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, you know, the reason I like advocate for a prequel more is like, all this Ionios lore can be explained in a prequel, but I guess it could be explained in a sequel as well by like various characters, like Shulk being like, or Rex being like, this is what you experienced, and like here's some more context on that. Yeah. Or
I'm sorry. Yeah. Or it could go even further than the founders. This is the one kind of prequel I'll accept. It goes even further behind the founders, and it's a prequel about both worlds as the merge is about to hit. And you find out exactly the exact moment of Origin's failure, and it's another tragic ending like how Torna was.
Oh, because that would be good.
Torna is a tragic game where you don't win.
So do you think in that, like with that kind of a DLC, would you play like one half in Bionis and one half in All Rest? How would that work?
I could sort of see that being the case, to be quite honest.
I don't mind that happening, honestly. And maybe, then they would like do like some weird thing with the light where you can like play as both maybe, but on light version, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You can interact. You do one part of you can swap between the two, but you're doing things on either side of the world. Something like that. There's a lot of things
that's a really cool idea, actually. Yeah, you heard it here on this podcast first from Yggdrasil. But yeah, I think either way, I think the DLC will be good. I just if it's a sequel, I want the villain to be good. I don't want it to be some one-off
Gelgar.
I don't want it to be like Gelgar or the Fog King, but I just want it to be like meaningful. But I think it'll be good. I have high hopes for it. Yeah, I think Console A could be a good addition to this, so we'll see. if they exist. So the final set of questions and everything that I have is labeled questions specifically for you, based off of like what I know about you as a content creator and some of the videos that you made recently and beyond, like before. So I want to hear these from you. Why do you think D is better written than Mumkar, in your opinion? Because I remember hearing that in your recent video, so I want to hear your thoughts on that.
I want to say, first off, it's just, it's like explaining who D is, and it's like his correlation to Mobius. Whereas Mumkar, it's just like very obvious from the start. It's like I'll take the Monado for myself. That'll give me time. And then it's just like okay, so you're like bad guy. And then it's like, I've wanted the Monado for ages. And it's like, when did you want the Monado? It's like there's no background to Mumkar other than I want power. Dirk in the same time, Dirk is like, he's been a part of he's a former soldier. He has that itch for like the bloodlust, and you see the moment it takes over, and then you see him like just get absorbed in it when he picks up Mobius, and he just indulges in that power that Mobius affords him. So there's just that little bit more understanding of where the character comes from and how he got to there, and then just like him visiting his Pharaonis, quote unquote, and seeing the jars in the head.
Yeah, and his connection with Uni as well. That was really cool. His connection with Uni.
His connection with Uni. So all of that together just worked. It worked and clicked a lot better, and especially just again that unsettling atmosphere that you get when he's just looking back at the head, smiling.
Oh yeah. I think in terms of like I think I mentioned this in one of my Xenoblade 3 spoiler talk videos that I made. I made like 4 or 5 of those. So in one of them, I mentioned that I feel like D is more frightening than Mumkar / Metalface. Because first of all, D's Mobius form is genuinely scary. Like when I saw him in the release date trailer for the first time, I was like, dang, that guy is frightening in the best way possible. But he also has this like commanding presence to him. And I don't remember the exact line. It's more so comedic, but I just love how he says it. Like when Noah and Mio interlink for the first time, they were like, what are we? And he's like, you're Ouroboros, but frankly, you guys are losers or something. And just the way he said that was really funny. And he's like, you're one step closer to being as good as me or something.
Both of them, their dialogue is very comedic. I wouldn't say comedic, but they're like very playful with their dialogue. I will say that to both of them and Mumkar as well. Yeah,
I think the most comedic or like most theatrical Mobius had to be K. And like every Xenoblade game has that like silly villain. You have Zord in 1, I guess you have Dougal in 2, and Dougal is just the worst. He's a silly guy. But then and then in 3 you have K. K is the best. I don't know if anyone could beat Zord, but K beats Zord, and I love K.
See, I called it immediately, and this is one of the predictions I was like dead on, is like K and Zord are the exact same. They're the exact same character.
Yeah, they're fill like that
up
role.
They're up on a stage, like being very playful to the team. It's like I'm a Mechon, I'm a faced Mechon, and it's like I'm Mobius, and it's like meanwhile you're just the puny main character, and it's like look at all my power, and then it's like Shulk understanding what he can do with his powers, and then obviously like realizing he's not set in stone. Noah realizing what he could do with the Sword of the End.
Yeah, that's the first flame clock they destroy.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like they're the villain that sends the signal to the rest of the organization that it's like don't mess with them.
Don't mess with Ouroboros. Yeah. So the next question I have for you is, as an artist yourself, how do you feel about the character design and art direction for each of the games in the series? So character design and art direction, I feel, is different for Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3. Especially when you look at Xenoblade 1 on the Wii and 3DS versus the Definitive Edition, it's very different. So I want to hear your take on all that.
I almost want to incorporate. I'm going to incorporate X into this as well.
Oh yes, please
I think
do.
X having the X just genuinely has the most design, the most design capability, because you can customize your own character. You can customize the way the other known characters can look like in cutscenes as well. Thankfully, but it's like that level of freedom and the design choices. It's like it's like go to different shops and it's like here's a futuristic shop, here's like a warfare shop, here's like a casual shop, and then all the cosmetic items from the quest. I think X had probably like the best range of design overall. But if we're talking about character design specifically, I enjoyed 3's character design the most.
For the main party, I agree. For 3, yes, I enjoyed them the most.
2 is conflicting, of course, but I still think it had a very good overall art direction. I think 1 had my favorite art direction for the longest time, just because I love the design for Mechon.
Yeah.
And
like also, yeah.
It like a time before steampunk like really took off for a lot of smaller communities.
Yeah,
like the almost steampunkish design of Mechonis like really caught the eye for a lot of people.
Yeah. And even like the character designs in 1, they just seem very like I would say everyone, maybe aside from Melia's a little more of like the more like anime out there character design. Yeah. But if you look at Fiora, Rhine, Dunban, Shulk, they just look like very down to earth people,
Yeah, until
Charlotte
Fiora becomes mechanized and you get the one special costume that highlights a few things.
Yeah.
But then, I love Dunban's design. I said I always say this, if I ever get fit and I get into cosplay, I'd cosplay Dunban.
Yeah.
And it's like almost simplistic. It's obviously an anime design, so it's not as simplistic as I'd like to say. But he's like dressed regally with a cape over his shoulder.
Yeah,
like, it's a nice more sleek design.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on with Shulk's shorts though.
Yeah.
And his shoes. I don't know what's going on with either of those.
Yeah, it's not as silly as Sora's shoes.
Yeah, 3 is excellent designs because it's the modern designs, but they have the military uniform designs. 3's NPC designs are very, very good because all of the named NPCs you can tell a lot of a lot of energy went into making the unique. NPC, the uniquely named NPC.
You mean
models.
Like the heroes, or mostly like just the people within the colonies?
Like a lot of like the colonies.
Okay.
Like all the named NPCs, because before 3, X had my favorite world building, and now 3 has my best world building. And a part of that's the fact that it doesn't have the same issue that 2 had, whereas here's 3 different uniquely named Gormati adult males, and they all have the same model, but they're all different characters. Yeah. And so that always took me out, especially when I'm in a cutscene and then there's like 3 of the same models stacked together. And then even Definitive has very good designs. Like the 1 has very good character designs as well. I think it suffered a little obviously on the Wii because of the blurriness, and then Lord knows you couldn't see the characters in the 3D version, the 3DS version. But Definitive gave them a glow up. I mean, I remember the NPCs of 3 and 1 way more than 2. Like for example, like everyone knows who Kenny Rohan is in Xenoblade 1. Please tell me you know.
I forgot.
He's like the philosophical artist that walks around the residential district in Colony 9.
Oh yeah, him.
And then like for me, it's like I also remember like a lot of the other characters also like from the different colonies, like Giorgio, who's like the dude that makes he's the NPC that makes curry, and like his daughter like wants like his attention before he collapses from exhaustion. Like when the NPCs like have that unique, when they're visually unique as well, it plays a lot better into remembering their stories for me, which is why I don't think too fondly of many side quests from 2. And Torna did a fair bit better with that, but it still suffered a little from there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Future Connected did a good job with it as well. I like remember I vaguely remember a lot of the people from Grendel in that area. And then with 3, what's hilarious is like, of course you got like Bolyaris, you got that guy in the city who's like really into Monica, who's always working with Monica. But my favorite NPC in 3 is the Spirit Spinner. I think that's his the Story Spinner, that's his name. Do you remember him?
Oh, I remember him. Yes.
He's the guy, and like when Melia comes to the city, everyone's like Queen Melia, you need to see this guy. He's been waiting literally his entire life to meet you, and only you. You need to meet him. And then she goes and meets him, and it's like this guy has been like waiting for this moment his entire life. He's like, he knows her. He knows everything about her. He's like, I know that you're afraid of fireflies. And she's like, how do you know that? So like these silly NPCs. Huh?
Was there a Dober Corgi reference with that? I can't remember.
I don't remember, but I
remember I wish there was one with them. But because that's her favorite item, is Dober Corgis. Oh,
okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know about the whole Firefly thing. I didn't know if they mentioned that in Xenoblade 1 ever, but that was interesting. And then something happens and Lance has to like punch him, so that was very funny. And Amelia's like, "Are you insane? You just punched this old man." So that whole interaction was hilarious, especially because like I love Melia so much. So just that whole quest was very enjoyable.
Yeah, I loved the city in general. The city not being idyllic and having like they have like their own goals and they tend to be unified on them, but the politics with the different houses, and then there's the conservative side versus the side that supports Monica. Like all of that going together was nice. And then even Garrett, was his name Garrick, Julietta's father, like who's also on the council and like one of the 6 house leaders, and it's like he's like, I'm not against you, but I just don't agree with how you're running it.
What house was he? Was he Ortiz or Rhodes, or do you remember which one he was?
I can't recall. Of all things, like I can't remember that
Cassini, if I remember, Cassini was Monica's husband. Van Damme is Monica. Reed is Shania. And then that just leaves Rhodes, Ortiz, and Doyle, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that, like, I swear, if I ever do end up making lore videos, I want to make one specifically just for the houses and one for like the city's politics, because it's very
really cool.
Well written.
Yeah. There's some very, very awesome side quests in the city that really like it's. I didn't expect Xenoblade 3 to go in that direction at all. Like that was a real curveball, but it was the most welcome curveball ever, if that makes sense.
I don't think anyone could have expected what they threw at us with the city. Like hands down. But sorry, one last thing, just back to the main point again with X. X also has that unique vibe going on with a lot of the quests. Some of those models were reused a little bit more in X, but like the scope of X in NLA can't be understated.
It's massive. And,
and just it has its own. Again, like how I was saying, before 3, that had my favorite quests. Like, and they were wacky quests too. They decided to have a lot of. They're like, okay, it's something about this planet, great, but that let all the side quest people like just like, well, if it's something about this planet, we can do wacky stuff. So they had like a Back to the Future. Oh, I'm not gonna say because you're still playing through it. No, okay, I'm not gonna
I'll
say
keep
anything.
a lookout for that. There's some things I know about X that are considered spoilers.
I will tell you, my favorite quest in X, keep an eye out for a quest from the pizza guy in the commercial district. It's the silliest, but it's one of my favorite quests in the series.
Yeah, I'll keep a lookout for that because I've heard X is very good side quests, so that's awesome to know. Because I like 2 other friends have told me like completely different side quests to look out for, so I'll keep the pizza one in mind. Sorry,
have I spoiled something about this planet to you right now, or did you already like get a hint of that?
Oh, is that a reference to one of the songs? I think that is, right?
Okay, I'm not saying anything else. No. Okay, I apologize to anyone watching this. I'm not gonna mess this up for him.
All right. I haven't caught on to it, so I'll just continue the game and figure it out myself.
Good.
But let's continue on. I have 2 more questions I want to ask you, and then we'll close out. So, what would you change about Zed's role in Xenoblade 3? I call him Zed because I also grew up in Canada, so I'm used to saying Zed.
I'll say Zed for the purpose of it because, like, you know, the people who are going to watch this will know. We'll like refer to him as Zed as well. I enjoy Zed as a singular purpose kind of villain because they work. They existed in the past in many other games, and it exists in Xenoblade 2 with Malos being like a singular drive with his goals. But unlike Malos, and this is what I would have liked to have seen with Zed, is more of a direct role against the current cast of 3, because the most we see of Zed is through visions of Zed during Noah's moments with Ben.
Otherwise, you just see him in the theater, just doing vague things or saying vague things.
You see him in villain base. You see him in the base of the villains, just cackling away. And a part of that's because, unlike Malos, who is seeking the power to achieve his goals, Zed's already at a point where he has his power, and he's just all he's doing is maintaining his goal. But I would have loved to have seen him pop out, and there's like some displays of his power beyond just the consoles, because Zed leaving and this is like one of the bigger problems. This is one I didn't even touch on earlier. Almost with the consoles and with heroes, you almost get the setup. It's like, oh, I just came across a hero. That means I'm going to find a new colony, and I'm going to fight one of the wacky consoles who's going to be over the top.
Yeah.
Where's Zed? He's just sitting in base, watching all the letters of the alphabet topple over. And then again, X and Y having no real ending. Then you sort of get the hint that X and Y and Mobius as a whole is just essentially Mobius's ambitions are Zed's ambitions. But it's like X and Y had more unique personalities, and they were almost there at the beginning with Zed. So it's like you think they would have like some slightly different grasp on Mobius, or like a slightly different take other than Zed. But Zed was amusing. I loved his boss fight.
Yeah.
His whole it's like it's because it amuses me. Like that's just like, oh, that gets the blood flowing.
Yeah.
Like,
he's grown on me a lot since I first started the game. I will say the coolest things about Zed are, first of all, his character design is so badass and so awesome. Amazing, I think he looks so cool with the flowing hair and the horns and the gown, and his theme is very cool with I don't know like what it is, but it's kind of like that medieval sounding theme. I don't know what instrument it is, but it sounds so like evil.
But I always think of chess whenever I hear that theme, because there's the Black Knight from Fire Emblem Path of Radiance has a very similar vibe going on.
That's cool. Yeah, Zed's character design is very cool, but I also like his dialogue and his voice acting. I don't know if you've watched Game of Thrones. Have you watched Game of Thrones?
No, I haven't, because by the time I was going to start watching it, like I never had the time to watch like any sort of TV. So by the time I was like actually considering watching it, people are like, don't bother.
Yeah.
It ends on a sour note.
I always equate this to like certain like shows, movies, or video games. This is how I consider like Xenoblade 2 and 3. It's about the journey and not the destination. But for Xenoblade 2, it is about the destination because the destination is amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But okay, that was a very much of a tangent. The reason I brought out Game of Thrones is because Zed's voice actor is like an actor from Game of Thrones. And when I looked that up, that Zed had that voice actor, I was blown away. I was like, wow, Nintendo of Europe actually went out of their way to like get really good voice actors for these roles. Like Zed is a very good British voice actor, or just actor in general. Mio, Amy Fionn Edwards, she was Ronnie in Elden Ring, and she was also in Peaky Blinders, a TV show.
Right.
And of course, Harry McIntyre is a pretty, he's up and coming, and he's had some pretty good roles as well. So like,
have you seen any of his streams of the game? Because
I have.
It's enjoyable.
Oh
it's
yeah,
really
I've seen some of Harry's streams. They're really nice. It's really wholesome. Yeah. But it's nice seeing Zed being portrayed by someone like that. It just gives him more of a presence. I enjoyed that.
Absolutely. And again, like going back to editing that last video that I made, just again like having to listen as I was recording, and it's like he hits the specific words that he wants to enunciate. They just hit. Like when he says like the essence of life, and like I can't do it. Like,
yeah, he does it very like good. The
grip he says, like the grip on the word life that he has, like his actor. So
I will say one thing about Zed, which I found a little silly, is when you beat him at the end, he turns into like a kind of like a kid having a tantrum. He's like, "This world, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it."
Yeah, because he's just going. It's just like the facade.
Yeah,
it's like everything he's built is just tearing, and it's like all that's
that
left
is
is the
Mobius.
desire.
Yeah, it's the stagnation and not wanting to move forward, holding grudges. Just being that old self and not wanting to mature. So it did make sense, but in the moment I was just like, that's so weird. But then when I thought about it, I was like, it makes sense.
It's very anime, but it works in that sense.
All right, I have one last question for you, and this is a pretty in-depth question, so get ready for this.
All right.
As a fan from the very beginning, how has your interest and love for the Xenoblade series evolved? I can't answer this one. This is all you.
How has the interest and love for the series evolved? I mean, it grows with every entry. What can I say? And it's like, I remember literally sitting in like classes where I just had nothing to do in senior year, like writing away. It's like what I took from one, and then Xenoblade X comes around. I remember like ditching work an hour early to go and get my copy. Xenoblade 2's release was at a very like hard point in my life. It was in my most difficult college year, and there were issues with family going on, among other things. So 2 was there to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was literally there picking me back up in one of the worst states of my life. And then 3 was fantastic. Again, just the hype cycle of 3. And also, again, just trying to make content as my goal at the start of 2022. Because my New Year's resolution for this whole year was to learn video editing. And then I turned video editing. It's like, well, if I'm going to learn how to edit videos, I'm going to need content to make, so I might as well try making YouTube content. And it was going stagnant. Like I started with Paper Mario, which I want to return to. I want to return to like Let's Playing that. But then like Xenoblade 3 was revealed, and there was no way like I couldn't let that go by without wanting to talk about it, because my whole channel, again, like as much of the content of my channel has been Xenoblade so far, I don't want Xenoblade to be that to be like the main thing. but at the same time, it's like it's very apparent to see just how much I love Xenoblade that I just quickly let it overtake everything else as precedent on my channel. And we're at a stage now where, because of Xenoblade 3 going out, I went from knowing some of these people like NL and Luxon, and it's Tyler and Rock and a lot of other people like who I've heard the names of, and I've gone from just like looking at their content to in some way like interacting with them through Twitter, or like I remember Rock following me. I remember like Enel on his alt following me, and it's like it's surreal to see. It's like all I did was express myself because I really truly love I really truly love this series, and it's me displaying that passion that allowed these people to like just, it's like it made an impact on them to see that even though I'm such a small creator, they're willing to like give my voice that attention. So it was just amazing to see.
Yeah.
So it can't be stated just how much I love 3, or not just 3, but all of Xenoblade, and just like how much it's as a series, how much it's given to me in like the decade that Xenoblade Chronicles has been out.
Yeah, and I've noticed like sort of like what you said, meeting all these new people on Twitter and on YouTube in the comment section and during streams and all that. As toxic as the series can be at times, the fan base is very like there's a community there. There's a big community there. It's a nice community a lot of the time. Yeah.
Every series can be toxic.
Oh yeah.
That's the one thing I dislike, is a lot of people like try to focus on like the negatives of the series. Yeah. It's like, and this is probably where a lot of people are going to tune off if there's someone else still watching. Like how I say I love Genshin Impact because you know it's a free product that has consistent updates, but more than that, it's a wonderful Breath of the Wild like open world with a lot to explore, a lot of really fun mechanics, all that. But people will see gacha weeb game.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah,
and that's something that happened with like, well, tangent back to Xenoblade with like that's a lot of people's takes on 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
but
certainly.
But I'm like, it's like, okay, it's fine to disparage and dislike those aspects of 2 because we can come to and talk about that as a community. But then there's people that just like, well, absolutely, it's like 2 is the anime one. I dislike 2. Nothing can get me to like 2. I dislike Rex. He's annoying. Nothing can get me to like Rex. Have you heard his voice actor? It's like, no. Like,
but to them, have they played the game?
Have you played it?
Yeah.
It's like some of them, yes. And if it's like, okay, so it's not your cup of tea,
then I accept and understand their opinion. As much as I may disagree, I can respect their opinion if they've played the game.
I don't think the gacha system should be in 2, or it should be way more lenient in 2.
Yeah.
If it has to be there for whatever reason. Yeah. But like that's things that people can come together. But Xenoblade as a community in general has an excellent community. We still follow the rule of 7 for over
7 and Catalyst.
7, Catalyst, some say coffee with milk.
Yeah.
For it. We all follow that.
Catalyst is Nia, actually, and then Coffee with Milk is Numa, I think.
Oh, wait, Catalyst is Nia?
Yeah, because she has the Catalyst scimitar, that's why. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what people would say for M now in Xenoblade 3.
I think they'll just refer to the ceremony as like the same way they refer to the events of Mechonis Core.
Yeah.
Like maybe we'll say like the day of the eclipse.
Yeah, because like, if you say homecoming, then that gives it away.
Yeah, no, you can't say homecoming without a doubt.
Yeah. But like sort of like where you're coming from, you've had this 10-year-long experience with the series, and it's evolved and like only grown so much because you've like experienced so much with the series, met so many new people, and had those like moments in your life where you've played Xenoblade games. For me, I got into the series only 2 years ago. And before that, like, and I still am, like, my number one favorite video game franchise is The Legend of Zelda. And for a long time, I was like, aching to find a series like Zelda. Where is an adventure game where I go on an adventure in a nice like world with a great story, with great lore, with great characters? Where is that? And I finally found it in Xenoblade. And like, people don't believe me when I say this until they hear me talk about Xenoblade so much on my channel, in real life. All my friends who don't play JRPGs, when they hear me talk about Xenoblade, then they understand when I tell them that in just 2 short years, Xenoblade did not only become my second favorite Nintendo franchise, it became my second favorite video game franchise in just a short span of 2 years. That's how much I love the series, and that's how much like the past 2 years playing Xenoblade games has meant to me, because like I found that series that I was looking for, and it's not only like an enjoyable series, but like I've taken so much out of it, from like the community and the characters and the story and the gameplay and all that. Yeah,
and it's amazing to see just how like it's really the Nintendo Switch that's given all these people the opportunity, because Xenoblade Chronicles came so late in the Wii's lifespan, and it was so limited in the West. Like, it was hard to get a copy. Like, and the accessibility that Switch has, like with 2 is the entry for a lot of people. Surprisingly, in terms of content creators, I don't know many content creators who've told me that their first game was Xenoblade 1 on the Wii, or Xenoblade Wii. The majority of the times I get 2 or Xenoblade on the 3DS. The only 2 people I can think of are like NL, Luxon. I don't remember where K Jewelers started. Do you know K Jewelers? Yes, I do, but I can't recall where they started.
I don't know if you know who Arrow is. Arrow started with Xenoblade 2.
Yes.
Yeah, Arrow started specifically with 2, and then he went back to Xenoblade Definitive Edition and ended up enjoying that more than 2, but still loves 2. So like Arrow is an example of someone who started with 2. So,
yeah, there's a lot. It's very prevalent how many people started with 2 and then went to 1.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see like it's weird because I started my content with 3, but I've been there since 1, and on top of that, I'm also one of the older content creators as well.
Yeah.
Like in general, like many of the content creators for Xenoblade content, they're like early 20s, whereas I'm like entering late 20s next year. It's like, oh no.
Yeah. I'm mid-20s, but yeah, like the whole like Switch audience is in like the mid to late 20s age group, I've noticed.
Yeah, and it's just amazing to see that and that's again why I ask people, it's like, what was your first Xenoblade? Because it's interesting to see like just how much of the Xenoblade community began with 2. And it's like for all the contention you hear with 2, you'd think that wouldn't be the case. You'd think a lot of people would have skipped 2, but it's like, I guess if you can tolerate 2, you can pretty much enjoy everything the series has to offer.
Yes, yeah, apparently. I agree with that. If you can tolerate 2, you can tolerate anything in the series.
Exactly.
2, I tell this to anyone who is interested in playing 2 or wants to play 2, or who I'm trying to get to play 2, I tell them this. Xenoblade 2 is an exercise in patience. That's how I describe it. It is an exercise in patience, truly, but it pays off. But yeah.
Go on.
No, I was gonna go on a different topic on like you were saying about like content creation. Like I started off my channel as just like casual analysis, reviews, and then I wanted to go in the more UX and UI approach. So I made like videos on UX and UI. But then I realized how like difficult it is to like churn out videos like that. So I was like, hey, let me just like do casual discussions about like games that I'm into. When Xenoblade 3 started, I had a very like crazy reaction to Xenoblade 3, which I have on the channel, my reaction to the Nintendo Direct. So I was like, I need to make videos on Xenoblade 3. Like I need to like make some content. So I did like a whole like most of June and July was like Xenoblade videos, and then I was like, I've gotten the itch for that, I want to make more. And then my best performing video on my channel was my Xenoblade 3 review, and then from there I did like spoiler discussion and then top 10 lists and then the tier list, so it's been fun. And I have enjoyed making Xenoblade content because it's like my new favorite series, but I'm also excited next year when I get to do that same thing for Zelda, because Zelda is my favorite video game series of all time. So doing that for Tears of the Kingdom next year is going to be so much fun. So yeah.
Absolutely. And we get to have Xenoblade discussion again next year with
for the DLC.
With the 4-part DLC.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah. Part 3 and 4 is coming next year. So we'll hopefully
I can't wait for those.
Hopefully some of our predictions will be real in the DLC. We'll see.
Do you think we'll see any part of Wave 3 DLC announced with the Game Awards in 2 days?
I think it'll be at the January or February Nintendo Direct.
I think so too. I'm hoping we get a new update soon because we're going a little slow for patch cadence compared to 2's patch cadence.
Yeah, and I hope some of those free heroes are added in the next wave. Because I haven't gotten the expansion pass yet, but if those heroes are added, then I'll probably get it.
Yes, that's the one thing that they handled really well with 2 is they had new features for the free people, and they're like, here's DLC stuff as well. They were really good with maintaining like I looked at it, it was like a 4 to 6 week patch cadence. So I was hoping to see that with 3, and it's going slower than that, but I hope to see something soon.
Do you know who some of the DLC like the free DLC heroes are?
Yes, I have heard who they are.
Yeah, so I'm very excited for some of those, like especially one in particular, who is.
And I've also seen the design for the 3's DLC in the files.
Yeah, I'm curious because like I'm assuming that whoever that like hero is going to be Kevis originated, so I don't know how that is going to be a link to Xenoblade 1 is like I don't know. I'm very excited to see that, because with Ino, like if you saw like a render of Ino before Ino was announced, you would have been like, that's an artificial blade, that's basically like a new puppy. But for this new hero, like I don't know what the heck that is. So I
think it's gonna be Agnian again. I need to look back at the image. I think it's gonna be Agnian. I hope not.
I hope it's Kavesi.
If a little bit spoilerish, I know, but it gives me almost a Mayneth vibe.
Yeah, and it gives me a Mayneth vibe too. Yeah,
that's my hope for Kevis.
It like the shape looks exactly like Mayneth, and like whatever is on her head looks exactly like Mayneth as well. So,
can you imagine if it's somehow tied to Mayneth, and then not only ties to Mayneth from 1, but it also hints at what Galea became in 2.
I still think that Galea is the Infernal Goldo though, and I still think that the Fog King was like one of the first like annihilation event kind of things where where Galea's vengeful force. So like, you know how Klaus had like the evil Klaus is Zanza, and then the good Klaus is the architect. So like the good Galea is Mayneth, and I think the evil Galea was the Infernal Goldo, who was trying to like come into the Xenoblade 1 universe, but becomes like an annihilation event in the Fog King.
Despair of it.
Yeah, and it becomes a Fog King, or more likely a Fog Queen if it's Galea. So
it's gonna be sad if it's just a reuse of assets at this point for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's that's my theory about it, but who knows? Honestly, who knows?
Yeah. Honest. There's a lot of things, so I hope to see it in 3. I really hope to, and I don't doubt that they won't deliver on some of it. I just hope I see some of it soon.
Yeah, I guess my like biggest disappointment with like lack of something not showing up in 3 was I really wanted Ontos to show up, but he didn't. But it's fine.
I think a lot of people wanted to see a lot more callbacks than what we got, but I think that's like a bit of self-inflicted hype.
Yeah, I realize that as well. Yeah, and it's fine. Like,
I would have loved to have seen a few more zones personally.
Yeah, but seeing Melia and Nia back was enough for me personally. But and then that picture at the end was nice too. But yeah.
Again, Mac the Wildwood being like this, like my least favorite zone. Like I love, it's so weird how I love Great Kate Falls, and right next door to it is like my least favorite zone.
Yeah.
Which is like so sad because there's like a lot of inspiration that could be had with Mac the Wildwood.
Yeah. I like the like overall world design and level design of Mac the Wildwood, like lower Mac the Wildwood with like the swamp area, and then like the part leading to Colony Tau was nice, and then Colony Tau itself was cool. Juniper's Colony
itself was excellent.
Yeah, that area was cool, and then the rail grinding was cool. So that part was nice, and like overall Pentalus is a nice region, but I do prefer Great Cot Falls and Colony Lambda to everything in Mac.
I would have also liked seeing a little more in the Orion Tunnel. I would have liked to see a little bit more.
We did get to see the ruins of Fanzamaima though, right?
There's a bit of the ruins. There's a bit of the Colosseum.
You see Elethra ruins too. You see where Adam awakens Mithra. That area, you see that. So that's cool.
You see some of it, but they're just. I wish there was a little bit more than it just it turning into Arachno ruins.
Yeah, and I think that there is a hint to Spirit Crucible Elpis in Cadencia, because there is, because there's like an area you go in and you're kind of debuffed, right?
That's a reference, yes, but would you like me to tell you if you haven't seen it?
I don't care, you can tell me.
The Spirit Crucible is there. It's on one of the islands, and it's only accessible, I believe, after Origin is unlocked.
Oh, okay.
I believe it's on Daedal Isle, if I recall.
That's really cool.
So it hints that Daedal Isle is the ruin of the large mother Leftherian Titan.
Oh, okay.
Because the Spirit Crucible Elpis is resting on, I think, Daedal Isle.
Okay. But then what was that underground area in Cadencia where you're debuffed?
I have no clue.
Okay.
I was, because that's where you do your level 90 plus grind.
Yeah.
That's where I did my level 90 plus grind.
Okay.
I need to like go in more on that. And it's one of the few areas where it's like our Ouroboros powers aren't working.
Yeah, something like that.
They don't question it further. I'm just like, what's
And that makes sense because Ouroboros is like a blade eater kind of driver and blade kind of thing. So it makes sense that that's kind of debuffed because that's what happens in Elpis as well.
Yeah, but it's like, why? It's like, you want to know why.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot is left unanswered in 3, but that also like adds to the mystery and intrigue of it, so that's cool.
So long as even half of it is answered in the way that Torna answered a lot of the questions, or just added back into the story of 2, so long as the 4th DLC does that, I am more than satisfied.
Yeah.
But we need Riku's stuff answered. That's my only request.
All right, it is getting sort of late for me over here, so let's close things up. First of all, I just want to thank you, Yggdrasil, for joining me today. It was a lot of fun. I was a little nervous, but it ended up going real good, and it was a lot of fun, and you should join back again on the channel. And before you head out, do you want to mention anything you're working on, any plugs? Your channel will be linked in the description below, so everyone check out Yggdrasil's channel below. Give him a like and subscribe on his videos and his channel, and check out his videos because they're pretty awesome. So you want to like plug anything, social media, any videos you're working on, any of that?
Well, first off, I just do want to say thank you for the opportunity. And I think it's like, I think we're both a little bit nervous, like doing things like this, but at the end of it, like you start and then you start talking about it, and then you just let the passion take over. That's that. So I think it's all worked out really well. Thanks for having me on.
No problem.
God. As for stuff I'm working on, I only really have 2, maybe 3 more videos I want to work on and have out by the end of the year. One is going to be like games I played in 2022 that I enjoyed, like that I really liked. I'm not a top 5, so to speak.
I'm working on a similar video actually. So that's cool.
Because you can guess what I would rank as number 1. But like
I wonder. I wonder.
Yeah. But the rest of it is like, it's like, there's no particular order. So it's just games I liked in 2022.
Yeah. I did a backlog list, and then I did a 2022 new releases list. So I have 2 of those. Yeah.
That's smart. I didn't have the opportunity to play as much as I would have liked in 2022.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. And then the other thing I am going to be working on as well is just like 1 year on YouTube. Here's like things that I've learned.
Cool.
As for Xenoblade projects, there are a few other parts of Xenoblade 3 I want to talk about, such as some of the personal characters. Like I said, like maybe like a discussion on the founders. That'll be like way down the line. I do definitely want to make one on the world building, because 3's world building is
really good.
bar none the best of all of the games combined.
Yeah.
Best side quests, hands down, for example.
I'm excited for your city politics video as well, because that would be really cool. Yeah.
That might be a little bit down the line. Other than that, there are some life things happening that would likely slow me down at the start of January, but I hope to be back on track soon. I do want to return to Let's Playing Paper Mario. But I'm going to change the format on that, so there'll be like longer videos with maybe a little bit less editing. We'll find out. I need to work up on that. And then just very long term, when I get a better setup, because obviously I'm talking through a mic on my headphones right now. It's not ideal for capturing audio. I want to start smaller lore-ish videos on not just Xenoblade 3, not just Nintendo, but like I'm thinking to call it the side quests of gaming, something like that.
That's a good name.
Yeah, and discuss. I want to discuss like side quests that I've experienced that were very memorable for me, and then if it builds traction, I want to have people suggest what their favorite side quests are, and I could look into those. And maybe I could like discuss those as like a lore thing. So like, for example, the impact of the Nopon Offseer in Xenoblade 3.
Yeah.
For example. There's a few. I have like a list of like 4 or 5 of them so far. I want to build up that more, and I get better equipment. But that's really all my plans are. Other than that, I'll continue on my channel just talking about things that I enjoy.
Cool. Yeah, so keep it locked in on Yggdrasil's channel for more of all that awesome content. And yeah, thank you so much again for joining. And we've gone on for like 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I'll have to do a bit of editing on this. Maybe release it in 2 parts, but we'll see about that.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, I will definitely have a field day with that tomorrow. I have like a free day tomorrow to do that, so that'll be fun. But yeah, once again, thanks so much. And to everyone watching at home, remember to like, subscribe, comment down below what your favorite Xenoblade memories are, favorite songs, favorite soundtracks, story moments, all that. And keep it locked in for more analysis, reviews, usability studies, and casual discussions. This is Nishquick and Yggdrasil signing off. Have a good one. Later.
Great one.